It's hard to believe that the Devil May Cry series has been around for over 2 decades now. The first game came out back in '01, I believe, for the PS2. And just about every Devil May Cry game or every main installment that's been released has been one that people have had nothing but good things to say about. But a lot of people go on record and tell you that Devil May Cry from 2019 was probably the best installment in the entire series, considering the amount of commercial success it had, the amount of hype and anticipation that went into its release, the fact that you had a new playable character in V, so you had three playable characters, Dante, Nero, and V. Each of them had their own unique fighting style. The story for Devil May Cry was pretty cool. The presentation was pretty cool as well. And basically, you have to ward off a demonic invasion on Earth, and basically, you're humanity's last hope and what have you. And yeah, I do feel like Devil May Cry 5 is a game that did really well in terms of sales. 'Cause I think it managed to reach like 6 million in sales, and that was reported sometime like late last year. So between 2019 and 2022, Capcom has managed to sell 6 million copies with Devil May Cry 5. And honestly, I think that game is so popular to a point that deserves its own anime series. Now, when it comes down to anime in general, in relation to the Devil May Cry series, like the only thing we got in relation to an anime series was the one that came out back in 2007, and I think it was really brief. It only lasted a couple of months, and we only got one season. And honestly, it's not something that necessarily got a lot of mainstream attention. It didn't appear on Toonami or anything like that. But I do feel that it was a pretty decent anime for its time. It wasn't necessarily anything spectacular or to a point where like this was something that, you know, if you didn't play any of the video games or anything like that, or, you know, you wouldn't have missed too much. It's basically like the story for the anime, or the original Devil May Cry anime, took place sometime between Devil May Cry 1 and Devil May Cry 2. A lot of people would love to have seen a second season, but honestly, if they do an anime adaptation of Devil May Cry 5, I honestly feel like that'd be somewhat of an attraction on Netflix, because nowadays it seems like we're getting a lot of like film adaptions of popular video game series. Like we've recently got Tekken Bloodline, we got Castlevania like in the past, and I think we have another season of Castlevania coming up soon. We got I guess Sonic Prime, which is basically a standalone, you know, story in a different time or whatever. And I do feel that having a Netflix special or like a animated series on that platform would be something that would definitely turn people's attention, especially if they decide to, if they plan on releasing Devil May Cry 6 sometime in the future. And I do feel like that's something that's going to happen, because Devil May Cry 5 is too popular not to have a sequel of some sort. But the thing is, I mean, you look at video game series like Persona, right? Ever since like Persona 3, it seemed like after like Persona 3, 4, and 5 came out, they all got their own film, like their own video game film or what have you. It seemed like video game films in general are becoming more and more popular in this day and age. And I do feel like with Capcom, the popularity of Devil May Cry is something they can capitalize on outside of the realm of video games, because it seemed like video games in general are starting to get more like anime or film adaptations in this day and age. Hell, we're supposed to be getting a film adaptation of Gran Turismo, and I'm not sure what the story is going to be, because the Gran Turismo series has no story, so it's probably going to be a standalone, it's going to be like a standalone film with the Gran Turismo name, and I don't know, we have no idea when that's going to come out. But yeah, like I feel like Devil May Cry is definitely one of the best things Capcom has going, aside from the Monster Hunter and the Street Fighter and the Resident Evil series. But honestly, I'm pretty sure there are some people who would rather see a Resident Evil film before they see a Devil May Cry film. But that's just my opinion, because I feel like Devil May Cry is kind of lower on the totem pole in comparison to that of Resident Evil. And especially in relation to like this year, like this is supposed to be a big year for the Resident Evil series in general. And honestly, I do feel that I still feel like it's too soon for Devil May Cry 6. There's been no announcements, no trailers, no gameplay footage or anything like that. I'm not expecting to see anything Devil May Cry related at E3 2023. And who knows, I could possibly be wrong, but right now I'm confident we're probably not going to see any trailers or anything like that for a potential Devil May Cry 6 game in the future. But yeah, I definitely feel like Devil May Cry 5 is definitely, anime worthy, and it's something that Capcom should definitely consider making a reality.